What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham G.S. Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network and on Peacock. And today we're talking the October 11th, 2024 edition of the SmackDown LowDown. So I was kind of worried coming into this episode that they were going to take the formula that they did with Raw Talk this past week, and I know why they did it with Raw Talk this past week, and will probably continue to do it for the rest of the year, and make it an hour. That would have been completely fucking stupid. So, for those unaware, and I talked about this in my Raw Talk review on Tuesday from Monday, that they made the show from like 25 to 27 to 30 minutes into a 57-minute show on Monday. And they did that because Raw went from 3 to 2 hours. So naturally, to kind of fill the third hour of what Raw would be, even though they do not promote Raw Talk on Monday Night Raw, so why even bother? They made the show twice as long. Why? It was way more filler than usual. They replayed promos and interviews that you would just see on YouTube anyway. It was fucking stupid. So and that's a 2-hour show. So when they made Raw shorter, they made Raw Talk longer, which makes no sense because you have less shit to talk about, but whatever. And it's not even like they used that time to do anything interesting. It was just more bullshit and filler, and it was a waste of time. So I was worried they might be like, fuck, let's do this with SmackDown LowDown too, and they did not. Thankfully, it looks like, unless SmackDown goes to 3 hours in a couple months, and then SmackDown LowDown goes to 4, I have no fucking clue. I may not even be watching these shows for much longer, just because I feel like, and I've done this for so long, I'm just in the habit of watching these shows and reviewing them. But in a couple of months, I might have to say, no more to these SmackDown LowDown and Raw Talk reviews. I'm not 100% sure yet, but that might be the direction we're going in. But I thought this was a fun episode here. It was only around 27, 28 minutes. They did not go the full hour like Raw Talk did. Thank fucking God. But this was a fine show for what it was. As always, Megan Morant and Scott Stanford in the studio. They open up the episode hyping up Cody Rhodes versus Gunther for the Crown Jewel Championship at Crown Jewel next month. They also replayed the Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes segment from SmackDown where Owens ran down to the ring and attempted to cut a promo. Cody came out, Orton came out. It was complete chaos. Scott Stanford says they are a fractured group, and no one is happier about that, I'm sure, than the Bloodline, Scott says. They replay LA Knight beating Carmelo Hayes to retain the United States Championship. We hear from LA Knight backstage afterward with Byron Saxton, and he says that LA Knight says that he does not like, or does not dislike, rather, Andrade and Carmelo Hayes, but he calls them an annoyance. And that he keeps beating them, but they keep coming back. And he doesn't sweat them, but he will swat them. And he asks, you probably are wondering why I don't smile more. And it's because, he kind of did his LA Knight shtick in saying that he will keep putting them down and retaining the United States Championship. Another good promo from LA Knight per usual. Back in the studio, they preview Andrade versus Carmelo Hayes for next week's SmackDown in their seemingly 7th and final match of the series. And I'm hoping it ends in a no contest, a draw, a double DQ, whatever the fuck. I want a triple threat for the United States title. I know he's already beaten Hayes one-on-one. He's beaten Andrade one-on-one. Give me the triple threat. And Scott Stanford says he didn't mention a triple threat, but he says if we're going to get that best of 7 match, that 7th match next week between Andrade and Hayes, he says give me a stipulation. Steel cage, falls count anywhere. And I agree. But I would save that for, and this is going to sound crazy, but do an 8th match. So have the 7th match end in a no contest, the fuck finish, whatever. No one wins, a draw, whatever you want to call it, double pin, I don't know. They did that on SmackDown a couple of weeks ago, so probably not. And they also did it on Dynamite like a week or 2 ago too, so probably not that specifically. But do some sort of non-finish, do the triple threat, and then you can do the deciding match between Andrade and Hayes in a stipulation match with nothing on the line, just their own bad blood. It won't be at Bad Blood. Bad Blood just happened, but that would make sense, at least to me. They replay Bianca and Jade Cargill beating Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson to retain the WWE Women's Tag Team titles. We hear from Legend and Jackson afterward, making their debut here on SmackDown LowDown. They kind of go off on everyone who went after them, whether it be Kevin Owens interrupting them, Chelsea Green and Piper Niven being at ringside, and Jakara Jackson teases another appearance and another appearance and another appearance by the Metaphor on SmackDown. They didn't call themselves the Metaphor. WWE themselves, even on their website, on the show, did not refer to them as the Metaphor. They are still the Metaphor, I think, technically. Noam Dar's been gone for months, out injured. They have aligned and done stuff with Ora Mensah, not a whole lot, though, so I think the metaphor is dead, which, thank God, they were a terrible fucking group, but they still have the metaphor entrance, so they're still the metaphor to me. Anyway, back in the studio, they teased Chelsea Green and Piper Niven getting a potential shot at the WWE Women's Tag Team title soon, based on the fact they were standing at ringside scouting the competition. They hype up Nia Jax versus Liv Morgan for a crown jewel in their women's crown jewel championship match. I currently just do not care, but that's what they're doing at the pay-per-view. They also replay Naomi upsetting Nia Jax on SmackDown. We hear from Nia backstage. She had Tiffany with her. Tiffany didn't really say anything. Nia just says that SmackDown is her show and that she sends Tiffany to Raw to remind them that SmackDown is her show. Because Nia was interrupted by Liv on SmackDown. Rhea came out, so there was a lot going on. And Nia was not happy. Spoiler alert, I mean, I won't give away any spoilers, but they did what... I thought this was cool because they already taped Raw on Monday. I mean, that's not really a spoiler that Tiffany will be on Raw because she said it here, but she was indeed at the tapings, so I thought it was cool that they said, I'm sending you to Raw for this reason. So I thought that was well done. Again, they preview Morgan and Jax for Crown Jewel. They replayed the opening segment with Roman and Jimmy before replaying the main event, where it was Solo Sikoa beating Jimmy Uso and Jimmy Uso saying they need help. Scott Stanford says that the roof would come off if Jay were to come back into the fold and help out the OG bloodline, which you know is going to happen. And they also say Cody, but Cody's currently busy with KO and Orton, which I agree with. Please keep him the fuck out of the storyline going forward. I love Cody, but he should not be teaming with the bloodline anymore. They can have a soft alliance, but if he's busy with Orton and Owens, why the fuck would he then go out of his way to team with the Bloodline at Survivor Series? That would just be completely dumb. We already know he's not facing KO at Crown Jewel. He's facing Gunther on that show. So if you're not going to... You have to do Cody and KO again. That is not a SmackDown match at this point. They did the first one on pay-per-view. You do the second one on pay-per-view too. That's how it works. We cannot go a third or fourth pay-per-view without Cody Rhodes defending his championship. That would be completely fucking dumb. Anyway, that was the SmackDown Lowdown for October 11th, 2024. Good show here, I thought. Pretty standard stuff. We heard from the Metaphors, Lash Legend, Jakara Jackson, like I said, Nia Jax, LA Knight. So some champions appearing here on the show. I thought it made for a fine episode. Thank you guys for checking out my review of the SmackDown Lowdown for this week. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Like I said earlier, still contemplating whether we're going to be doing these reviews. I might have a bit of a shake-up as far as the schedule goes in a couple of months, maybe even sooner than that. But I'm considering cutting out the Raw Talk, SmackDown Lowdown reviews and maybe bringing back the classic pay-per-view reviews. I don't know if we would be, reviewing old Raws or whatever, but I am considering doing that instead. I wouldn't do everything. I mean, I just feel like these reviews aren't really necessary to begin with, but really anymore. And I've had, a fine time doing them, but I feel like it might be time to move on from doing these reviews and either do something else or just trim down the schedule. So keep an eye out for that. I will update you guys on that if I do that at some point. It would probably be in 2025 and not before the end of the year. I'll stick it out until then, but after that, we'll see. Until next time, guys, have an awesome one. I'm Graham G. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.